What's up, everyone? It's Ben from the Vinyl Jukebox, and in this video, I'm going to join in on the 2025 CD tag. Now, I've seen a few channels do this tag already. I'm not really sure where it originated from. I first saw it on Mr. Hall of Fame's channel, but then he linked Glen Kellaway from the Basement's video on his video, so I'm not really sure where it originated from. I'm going to link both videos and channels down in the description below so you can check those out. But essentially, we've got 15 prompts or questions, all CD related. But before we get into it, please be sure to leave a like and a comment below this video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. Alright, so the first question here is, when did you get your first CD player? And I would have to say that was around the 4th or 5th grade. I had asked my parents for a CD player, either it was for a birthday or for a holiday or something like that. And they bought me a Sony boombox. It was a CD, cassette, radio combination, and I love that thing. That thing was super reliable, lasted me years and years. And you could plug it into the wall. You could put giant D batteries in it and take it around with you if you wanted to. I never did that, but the option was there. And like I said, it was super reliable, and I thought it sounded great and lasted me so many years. So that was my first CD player. Number 2, what was the first CD you ever bought? And I have it right here. That was acdc's Ball Breaker. And long story short, my dad had a copy of acdc's Back in Black in his car. He'd play it all the time. I love that album. And I had saved up a bunch of allowance money, and I asked my mom to take me to buy that album or another acdc album. So she took me over to a local CD movie media store called Coconuts. No longer exists. One of those chain music stores that sadly went away with streaming and all that. But she took me over there, and I was sad that I didn't find acdc's Back in Black, but this cover caught my eye for sure. So I picked it up, and I really liked this album, and it kind of started my journey of buying music and collecting music. And yeah, so this is the first CD that I ever bought. Most recent CD that I purchased, number 3, that would be Crossbones Scully, Evil World Machine. This just came out in November. It is basically the solo project of Tommy Hendrickson from Alice Cooper's band and also from Hollywood Vampires. And this thing caught my ear as soon as I heard the first single from this album, I'm Unbreakable. It hooked me, and it sounded just like acdc, just like Def Leppard. And funny thing is, this is actually produced by Mutt Lange. Tommy Hendrickson got in touch with Mutt Lange, and he produced this album. I know Mutt has been a bit reclusive over the years, but really cool that he came out for this album. And this thing rocks. I mean, I know I had it as an honorable mention on my top albums of 2024, but if I had to do it all over again, I think this one would definitely be in my top 10 for sure. This album rocks, and I think it flew under the radar. I think it'll continue to fly under the radar because, unfortunately, I mean, Tommy's busy touring with Alice Cooper and Hollywood Vampires when he does that. So I don't know how much exposure live he's going to be able to have for this album, but it's definitely a cool one that people need to check out for sure. Next up, number 4, approximately how many CDs do you have in your collection? And I did a rough estimate because I didn't want to go through and count everything, but my rough estimate based on the shelves that I have, based on how many CDs could fit on a shelf, I got 650. Might be a little more, might be a little less, and that's also not counting some of the CDs that are included with some of my vinyl box sets. But 650 is probably a good estimate for how many CDs I have in my collection. All right, next up, number 5, jewel cases or Digipaks. Now, I'm a jewel case guy through and through, but I have noticed the quality of jewel cases going down in recent years. I always fall back to loving the jewel cases from the 90s, the ones with the black bar on the side. These are thick and these are sturdy. These will last forever. So I guess jewel cases, if they're made well, like I said, some of the jewel cases that we're getting these days just break if you look at them the wrong way. So definitely jewel cases from the 90s would be my favorite. Digipaks, I don't like at all. I find that they break easily, they bend easily, they get scratched. A lot of the times you go to the store and you're trying to buy a CD and it's already bent. The spine's already bent in the shrink wrap. and I notice that way too often with Digipaks. So hopefully we continue to get jewel cases. I know that about half of the new releases I get are in jewel cases, half are not. Hopefully they continue to be available, but who knows. All right, next up, your best CD purchase of 2024. This is number 6, and I would have to go with Blackfoot Medicine Man. I've been looking for these 90s Blackfoot albums for a while, and a couple of them came up on an auction. Now, I hadn't heard of this particular one before. I had heard of another one from the 90s that was pretty rare. But this one turned out to be my favorite. This one I think is so underrated for Blackfoot. I know it was done on an independent label, Nally Records, but this one's rocking. This one's right on par with their material from the 70s. I know in the 80s their material sounds very 80s. This is definitely a return to form for Blackfoot, and I think that this album is super underrated. Should definitely be heard by a lot of rock fans. All right, next up, number 7, show a live album on CD, and I'm going to go with the Rolling Stones' Welcome to Shepherd's Bush. This is the last live album that I bought. It just came out a couple weeks ago, and this one was really awesome because it was a small show that the Rolling Stones did to warm up for, I believe it was a show at Wembley Stadium on their Bridges to Babylon tour, and this live album rocks. I mean, they're playing deep cuts on this one. Songs like All Down the Line, songs like Melody, songs like I Got the Blues. I mean, you never get to hear these songs when they do their big stadium shows. So it's really cool when they release these live albums that are the club shows because they really dig deep into those deep cuts. All right, number 8, best sounding CD in your collection. Now, I kind of just went with the first one that came to mind here, and I'm going to go with Velvet Revolver Libertad. From the moment that I first heard this album, this is a loud album that packs a punch. The sound is crystal clear, crisp. Are the songs as good as on their first release, Contraband? Probably not. But I have to say the sound quality on this album is so much better than the first album. And I love this album. This is the first album that I ever heard from Velvet Revolver, and I just have memories of blasting this in the car. And it's one of those CD loudness wars type albums where it's a lot louder than it should be, but I think that it works really well on this one. So I'd have to say best sounding CD in my collection is Velvet Revolver's Libertad. Number 9 here, your favorite CD cover or insert, and this is the first one that came to mind for me, Metallica's Death Magnetic. The CD cover for this one is just phenomenal. It has the coffin, and each time you turn a page of the booklet, the coffin gets smaller and smaller. So it's kind of the layers of the ground in which the coffin is buried. I just think that this is so cool and just a really nice touch. I know that there are jewel case editions of this that don't have this, but I thought that this was just such a great part of the artwork on this album, such a great aesthetic. And it's kind of like the CD is like buried in the ground there too. So I love the album cover on this one. I could have gone with a few ones, but this one came to mind first for sure. All right, next up, show a CD box sets. So I wanted to show my Led Zeppelin box set. This was the remixes, kind of an anthology for Led Zeppelin. Came out in 1990, and these were produced by Jimmy Page. And it's a great, all-encompassing anthology of Led Zeppelin. We have a really nice booklet here full of great pictures, great essays about the band. Really their introduction into the CD era. And we have 4 great compilations here that just sound phenomenal in my opinion. Really nice presentation of their songs. There's 3, and here's 4. I know that the vinyl editions of this can be super expensive, but you know I'm glad to have the CD edition of this because I have all of Led Zeppelin's albums on vinyl anyway. But really cool Led Zeppelin, their box set from 1990. All right, next up, number 11, show a CD from your favorite band. So my favorite band, as everybody knows, is Guns N' Roses, and I wanted to show this one. I always thought this one was really cool. This is the Guns N' Roses EP. This is, I believe, a Japanese edition, and it has live versions of It's So Easy, Shadow of Your Love, Move to the City on it, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Whole Lot of Rosie live, and Sweet Child of Mine is the only studio song on this EP. But really cool. It has that original artwork on it, the band artwork, and just really cool. I didn't even know this existed until about a year or two ago, but I was really happy to add this to my Guns N' Roses collection because these are live versions that I don't think you could get anywhere else. Next up, number 12. What artist or band do you have the most CDs? And I would have to say that title goes to the Rolling Stones. I have live albums from them, studio albums, demos, B-sides. So they would have to be the band that I have the most CDs from for sure. Number 13, do you collect CD and vinyl? Yes, I do. As you can see behind me, I collect vinyl as well as CDs. I also collect cassettes. I'd like to pick up a few reel-to-reels. That would be fun too. I used to have a few 8-tracks. Don't have them anymore, but if I see a cool 8-track, I would pick it up. I see myself as just a music collector in general. I think that both sound great depending on how you want to listen and what you're listening to. But I started out with CDs, and then I shifted over to vinyl about 10 years ago or so, maybe a little more than that. And now I'm buying both pretty equally. Most new releases, I have to say, I buy on CD just because of the price, but I do buy a good amount of new vinyl as well. Number 14, have you ever sold your vinyl collection and stuck with the CD format? No, and I don't plan to. And number 15, show a CD that you'd like viewers to listen to and give you feedback on. So this is one of my favorite albums, and I don't think that a lot of people know about it. This is from Buckcherry's frontman, Josh Todd. It's an album called You Made Me. It came out in 2003, right before the Buckcherry reunion with the 15 album and the new lineup. And this is a really awesome solo album. It's out of print, so you'd have to find a copy on eBay, and I don't believe it's streaming. It may be. Last time I checked, it wasn't. But it's just got some great songs on it. A little bit of a modern tinge to it, but it's got great songs like Mind Infection, Flowers in Cages. He definitely has more of a punk sound on this album than Buckcherry tends to have, but it's a really refreshing change, and I think this album's great and definitely needs a reissue and definitely a first-time vinyl issue for sure. So Josh Todd's You Made Me. Check it out, everybody. And there you have it, everyone. That is my CD tag for 2025, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think of my picks? And did you put together a CD tag video yourself? And link it down in the comments below. I'd love to watch it. All right, everybody, before we go, please be sure to leave a like and a comment below this video. Subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, share the video, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.